Dear students, so welcome in this series of lectures on NMR. Now today we are going to talk about one of the very important concepts in NMR, that is angular moment. Now you know that if an object, it has a linear motion, that linear motion will impart a linear momentum to that object. So we can write that linear momentum, that is a vector quantity, that will be equal to mv, where v is the velocity and this is the linear momentum. V is the linear momentum. And the energy of that particle that can be given by is equal to 1 by 2 mv square, kinetic energy. Now in the same way, if an object undergoes a rotational motion or a circular motion, it will develop what we call angular momentum. And then angular momentum, if I represent it with J, that is given in classical terms as I omega, where J is the angular momentum. In short, I will write it like this. So I, it will be the moment of inertia, and omega is the angular velocity. Now if we also talk about a circular motion in a plane, that means planar circular motion, and I can show it like this. Say if this is center and any object, it is undergoing a circular motion about this center. So this is an object. Now this object, it is undergoing a circular motion like this, and this is the center, and this is the position vector r. So this circular motion in a plane about a center, it will impart an angular momentum to this particle, this object, and that angular momentum is shown by a vector. So this is the vector, it shows the angular momentum. The length of this vector, it will represent the magnitude of angular momentum. Say I represent it with J, so it represents the magnitude of J, and the direction of this vector, it will represent the direction of the angular momentum vector. So the direction of the angular momentum vector, it is always perpendicular to the plane of rotation. So this is the plane of rotation, and angular momentum, it is orientation. It is always perpendicular to the plane of rotation, and its direction is coincident with the axis of rotation. Now we see here this particle, it rotates about the center, about this axis. So the angular momentum J, it is coincident with the axis of rotation. Now if an observer will look along the arrow of angular momentum vector, then the rotation will appear to us clockwise. So here, since it is the plane is like this, angular momentum vector is perpendicular to this plane. Now if we see that if the angular momentum vector is away from us, then the motion of the particle, it will be in a clockwise direction. And in this case, the angular momentum vector, we may write it like this. So it may be equal to r, this is the position vector, m, v is the velocity, or we can write it like this, where p is the linear momentum. So j is the angular momentum, r is the position vector, m is the mass of the object, v is its velocity. and theta represents the angular change that signifies the angular moment. Now this is for the classical objects. This is the classical understanding. And again I will repeat here that the angular momentum in the classical sense, it is given by I omega, where I is the moment of inertia, omega is the angular velocity. And the energy of the particle in the classical in the classical sense will be equal to E, that is the rotational energy. It will be equal to I omega 1 I omega square by 2, or 1 by 2 I omega square. Or we can write it as well like this. We can write it I square omega square divided by 2I. That means we can write it also like this. It is the J square divided by 2I. As we have the I square omega square, so it is I omega is equal to J, so we can write it like this. That this equation relates the rotational energy with the angular moment. Now coming to the classical particles, quantum particles. Coming to the quantum bodies, so for example subatomic particles. Now in subatomic particles, the energy, rotation energy, if a particle is undergoing a three-dimensional rotation, the energy expression is given by like this. So it is equal to L into L plus 1 H bar square by 2I. So this is the expression of the energy in the classical sense, and we have it here in the quantum sense. And now we see here this L, it can only have some integer values or half integer values. For example, for certain type of particles, quantum particles, L can be 0, it can be 1, it can be 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. Or in certain cases, L can have half integer values. We will come to this later on. Now, if this is the equation 1, and we write this as equation 2. Now what is the difference? The difference is for classical bodies. In classical terms, the rotational energy can have any values. It can vary continuously. The particle can continuously change its angular momentum, and its energy will continuously change. That means for practical purpose, for classical objects can have any type of rotational energy. There is no limitations on the value of the rotational energy. But this expression shows that this L, it cannot have all possible values. It can only have certain specific values. For example, it can have 0, it can have 1, it can have 2, it cannot have 2.3, it cannot have 4.5. So that means we say that this energy of, rotational energy of subatomic particles, it is quantized. Quantized means the rotational energy of the particles, they can have only discrete amount of rotational energy, or that they can have discrete energy levels. They cannot have all energies. Now when we compare this equation, equation 1 with equation 2, we can also write it like this. So we can write that the energy, rotational energy, it is equal to J squared by 2I, and is equal to L into L plus 1 by 2I H bar square, where H bar is equal to H by 2 pi, and H is Planck's constant. Now from this we can say that J square is, it implies that J square, that is angular momentum square, that is equal to L into L plus 1 H bar square, or J is equal to under root L into L plus 1 h bar. So that means the angular momentum that is equal to root of L into L plus 1, where L can have certain discrete values. That means angular momentum of a subatomic particles, it is also quantized. That means angular momentum cannot have all possible magnitudes. Angular momentum can have only certain discrete magnitudes, and the value of angular momentum, the magnitude of angular momentum, it depends on the magnitude of L. So for example, if L is equal to 1, then the magnitude of J will be root of 1 into 1, 1 into 1 plus 1 h bar. Likewise, L is 2, so we can have the magnitude as root of 2 into 2 plus 1 h bar. So this is about the magnitude. So I can write over here that in terms of magnitude, angular momentum of subatomic particles or quantum particles, quantum bodies, is quantized. Now that's about the magnitude. And what about the direction? Now, what about the direction? Direction of the angular momentum, it is also quantized. And that is more important with respect to NMR spectroscopy technique. So we will talk about the direction of angular momentum and what we mean by the direction. Direction of angular momentum vector. So first of all, we will define, when we say the direction, it's always with reference to some reference axis. So we choose a reference axis. Say for example, if this is x-axis, this is the z-axis, and this is the y-axis. So we may choose the z-axis of the Cartesian coordinate system as our reference axis. So this is the z-axis. We choose this as a reference axis. Then we can have a particle undergoing a rotational motion. Say for example, a particle is going a rotational motion in this plane. Now we know that the angular momentum vector is always perpendicular to the plane of rotation. So this is the center, and the particle, it is having this type of rotation about its center. The angular momentum produced by virtue of this rotation, it will be the angular momentum vector. It will be perpendicular to the plane of rotation. So that means in this case we can say that angular momentum vector, it will be perpendicular to this plane of rotation. But the this rotational motion can be also in several other planes. For example, if this is the orientation of the plane of motion, now you can see the plane of motion is tilted, so the angular momentum vector will be perpendicular to this plane. So now J will be having the direction perpendicular to this plane of rotation. And also the particle can have rotation in this plane. Now in that case, the angular momentum vector will be perpendicular to this plane. We can show it like this. Now angular momentum vector is having a different orientation. For classical particles, it's possible that the particle can have any plane or any rotation in any plane. But in case of quantum particles, they cannot have all orientations. That means the angular momentum cannot have all directions. The direction of the angular momentum is quantized. And the number of orientations the angular momentum vector can have is 2L plus 1. That means the total orientations permissible to a quantum particle, unlike the classical particle, is only 2L plus 1, while L, this is the quantum number we call angular momentum quantum number. Now, for example, if the value of L is 1, then the total orientation of this angular momentum vector vis-a-vis a reference axis, it can only be 2L plus 1, and it will have the values, total values, which start from plus L through 0 to minus L. Now, in order to specify those orientations, we use one more quantum number, that's called magnetic quantum number. So we represent it here as ML values. So this ML value is called magnetic quantum number. And it gives the orientation of the angular momentum vector in space or with reference to some axis. And it can only take this ML value, as I told earlier. This ML value can only take how many orientations? It can take 2L plus 1 orientations, starting from plus L to minus L. So if L is equal to 1, then ML can have only 3 values from plus L. So in this case, plus 1, then 0, minus 1. In the same sense, if, for example, L, the value of angular momentum quantum number, if it is 2, then the orientation, the total orientations, total directions the angular momentum vector can have, can be given by this quantum number ML, and it can take values 2L plus 1, that means 2 into 4 plus 1 is 5, it can take 5 values, and the values will be from plus L, 0 to minus L. So we can write over here that ML values can be, in this case, plus 2, plus 1, 0, minus 1, minus 1. Now, for example, if the L value is 1, ML value can be only plus 1, 0, minus 1. That means the planes of rotation can be like this, as I have shown over here, that this can be for L is equal to 1. So when L is equal to 1, we have 3 orientations for angular momentum vector, and now I can show these directions of these vectors on this scale with reference to z-axis. So for example, I can show it here, this orientation, it can, the angular momentum vector here, it is like this. So we have the angular momentum vector. Now angular momentum vector vis-a-vis the z-axis, what is the orientation? The orientation is that angular momentum vector J, it is perpendicular to the reference axis. So when we say it is perpendicular to the reference axis, then one more question I may ask, that if this vector is perpendicular to the reference axis, what is the component of this vector along this axis? That means how much of this vector lies on this axis. And we know that any vector can be resolved into 3 component vectors along the 3 axes of Cartesian coordinate system. Now, if I say that this is the angular momentum vector J, how much of it is on the z-axis? The answer is 0, because this vector is perpendicular to the reference axis. And that means I write that the components of the angular momentum vector J along the z-axis is 0. And this 0 I show by writing that it is ML value is 0. So now I am explaining this magnetic quantum number in a bit more detail than what it means. It means that when I say ML value is 0, that means I am saying that the vector is oriented in such a way that its component on the reference axis is 0. So that is why also we call this ML value as it shows the Z component of angular momentum vector. It gives us the Z component of angular momentum vector. So when we say ML value is 0, that means there is no component, the angular momentum vector has no component on the Z axis. That means also that angular momentum vector is directed along the directed in a perpendicular direction to the reference axis, and that way we are specifying the direction of the angular momentum vector. We are fixing the direction of the angular momentum vector. Instead of this, if this is the orientation of, or this is the sense of rotation. If this is the sense of rotation, now what is the difference between this and this? In this case, the plane of rotation is contained in the z-axis, or z-axis is contained in the plane of rotation. Now, if this is the plane of rotation, say for example, the plane of rotation is, in this case, it is it is xz plane. So it is xz plane. So z-axis is contained in that xz plane. So that's why the whole of the angular momentum is directed perpendicular to the reference axis, and there is no component of the angular momentum vector along the z-axis. Now, how it is different than this? Now, in this case, the plane has tilted. Now, the plane is not like this. If the plane here, the plane was like this, and angular momentum vector was like this. Now, the plane has tilted, and angular momentum is like this. So, if I draw it over here for so in this case also, so this is the angular momentum vector. Now I ask you a question that how much part of this vector, or what is the component of this vector on the z-axis? So we can show it like this. We can tell that this is the component of this vector along the z-axis. So that means now I am fixing the component of, I am showing the component of the angular momentum vector because of this type of motion on the z-axis. So this component, I say that it is ML value, it is equal to 1. Now when I say ML value is 1, now that means I am saying that this is a component of the angular momentum vector on the z-axis, and when I fix the value of ML value, the z component, I am basically fixing the direction of the angular momentum vector. So that means once I write the ML value as equal to 1, I know what is the direction of the angular momentum vector. Now in this case, if the angular momentum vector is like this, I can show it like this. Now, what is the component of this vector? This again the angular momentum vector for this type of motion in this plane. And what is the component of this angular momentum vector on this axis? So it is component on this axis, it is this component vector. So this component vector gives the component of the angular momentum about the z-axis for this vector, and this vector gives the component vector of the angular momentum in this orientation. And if I call it plus 1, then I call it ML is equal to minus 1. So that makes it very clear that what we mean by the ML value. So ML value actually gives us the orientation of an angular momentum vector in space with reference to a reference axis. That means by just writing these values, we are actually writing, or we are fixing the orientation of angular momentum vector. So now, since for classical objects, the sense of rotation can be anything, the particle can have any sort of rotation, so angular momentum vector can have any possible values, any possible orientations. But for quantum particles, the orientations are fixed. and orientations are quantized here because ML cannot have all values. ML can have only certain values depending on the value of L. Now this was a generalized treatment for any particle having a rotational motion and giving rise to angular momentum. For quantum particles it will be quantized, and for classical particles it cannot be quantized. Now coming to our elementary particles. Now we are having elementary particles. We have electron, then we can have proton, and we have neutron. Now electron can have two types of motions. We can say electron can rotate about the nucleus, having orbital motion. So electron has the orbital motion, and this orbital motion will give rise to angular momentum, and that angular momentum is called orbital angular momentum. So orbital angular momentum, we write this quantum number, orbital angular momentum quantum number. So this is the orbital angular momentum quantum number. And this orbital angular momentum quantum number, it can have values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This we know from our elementary classes. And its z component is written as ml. Now ml can have 2l plus 1 values from plus l to minus l. And then electron can also have spin. And because of spin, by virtue of spin, it can again have angular momentum, and that angular momentum we write as spin angular momentum. And it is given by quantum number, that is the spin quantum number. Spin quantum number S, and these electrons, protons, neutrons, since they are fermions, their spin is only half unit. So that means S can only have value 1 by 2. So S has only value 1 by 2, and the magnitude of this spin angular momentum will again be given by root of S into S plus 1 h bar. So it is magnitude of the spin, that will be spin angular momentum, that will be given by under root S into S plus 1 h bar, that is h by 2 pi units. Now from NMR perspective, we are not concerned with the electron. This was just for showing it in a generalized way. We are more important for us is proton and neutron. Actually the proton and neutron, they can give a net spin to nucleus. Now protons and neutrons, they have the spin, again they have the spin, and because of spin they have spin angular momentum. And the I value, that is the spin quantum number, I represents the spin quantum number, and that is 1 by 2 for protons and neutrons. Now when the protons and neutrons, they are all having their spin paired up in an antiparallel manner, then the total spin of the nucleus, net spin of the nucleus, that will be equal to 0. So that means when all the nucleons, that is protons and neutrons, their spins are paired. Have paired spin in an anti-parallel manner. So in that case, net spin of the nucleus will be 0 and such nuclei are non-magnetic. They do not have net spin, so not relevant to NMR. But, for example, carbon 12 isotope. All neutrons and all protons have paired spin, so I value is equal to 0. But in many of the elements, the nucleus or many of the elements, the nuclei are having some net spin. For example, we have hydrogen 1, it has a net spin because there is only one proton and its I value is equal to 1 by 2. Now when I value is equal to 1 by 2, then what will be the Mi values? Mi value is the Z component of the I value. Mi values will be here plus 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2. So that means the nucleus with some net unpaired spin when the I value for the nucleus is 1 by 2, as in case of hydrogen 1 or carbon 13 or many other such elements whose nuclei have one unpaired spin. So their I value will be 1 by 2 and Mi value will be plus 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2. And in the absence of any external magnetic field, these two spin states, they are degenerate. That means of the same energy. But when we apply external magnetic field, then the degeneracy of these two states is removed, it is lifted, and they no longer have the same energy. So they are having different energy. On an energy level diagram, if I show, this is an arbitrary energy level diagram, energy is increasing in this way. Now, when there is no external applied field for a proton nucleus, the Mi value plus 1 by 2 or minus 1 by 2. So they designate two spin states. They designate two orientations of the spin angular momentum vector. Now the two orientations of the spin angular momentum vector, say for example, if this is the nucleus and this is the sense of the spin, we may have angular momentum vector like this. This will be this angular momentum vector, again represented by J, and the value will be root of I into I plus 1 H bar. So that will be the sense of the angular momentum vector. Or so if this is say Mi value equal to 1 by 2, then we can have also another type of a spin. So in classical sense, we can show the sense of spin will be like this, and in that case the spin angular momentum can be like this. This is the J. It can have different orientations. So we have one orientation and we have the other orientation for that. And the magnitude will be again the same, I into I plus 1 H bar. But if we have a chosen axis, we have a reference axis. Now this is our reference axis. So this is the Z axis. Now see, these are two vectors. This vector, it is oriented with reference to this axis in a way that it has some component along the z-axis. It has a component along the z-axis. Whereas this angular momentum vector, it has a component of angular momentum vector which is oriented in opposite direction to the this reference axis. And in the absence of a magnetic field, they are degenerate. It does not matter. But when there is an applied field, their energy is different, and we can show without field, this may be the field, it is equal to 0 up to this point, then the energy level of the two, it is same, So it is Mi value, it will be plus 1 by 2 minus 1 by 2. But when we put the applied magnetic field, the two spin states or the two spin states represented by two Mi values or the two orientation of the angular momentum vector, they do not belong to the same energy states, they belong to two different energy states. So this is Mi value plus 1 by 2, this is Mi value minus 1 by 2. So why that happens? That happens because these particles, the nuclei, they are positively charged particles, and when the particle having a charge, it is having a spin, that means it will be a spinning charge, and the spinning charge, it will be give what we call magnetic moment, and that magnetic moment will be in the same direction as the angular momentum vector, and we can write the equation for that. The magnetic moment vector, it will be proportional to the angular momentum, and the proportionality, if we remove the proportion, we can write the magnetic moment is equal to a proportionality constant into J, where J is the angular momentum vector. Now two things we have to note. This is a fundamental equation in NMR. Now what it tells us? It tells us that the magnetic moment or the magnetic field produced, it is directly proportional to the angular momentum, and its orientation is also along the angular momentum vector. So the magnitude is proportional to angular momentum, and the orientation of magnetic moment vector is in the same direction as the angular momentum vector, or it is coincident. It's coincident with the angular momentum vector, and this proportionality constant, it is called gyromagnetic ratio. So that is the importance of angular momentum, because angular momentum, it gives the direction of the angular momentum vector. It is quantized and it can have only certain values, and the magnetic moment produced, it will be also proportional to angular momentum. And if we define this gyromagnetic ratio, it will be the ratio of magnetic moment to the angular momentum. That means how much magnetic moment will be produced. It depends on the value of angular momentum. So it will be proportional to the angular momentum. So this was about the angular momentum concept. Thank you very much. In the next class, we will talk about the magnetic moment, and we will talk about the splitting of the energy levels, splitting of the magnetic quantum states of a magnetic nucleus in the presence of an applied field, and then when we apply the radio frequency region, how there is a transition from one state to the other state. So thank you very much for watching this video, and continue to watch other videos about nuclear magnetic resonance. Thank you.